I'm Davis Yu, and I'm a cellist originally from California, but now I'm in the Boston area studying at the New England Conservatory. I play the cello, and I'm currently at my doing my second year of my bachelor's program here at NEC. Um, I think that's about it.
Absolutely. And so, without further ado, did you want to perform something real quick and then we'll kind of jump into our conversation?
Sure, yeah. I was going to perform the Courant from Bach's Second Cello Suite in D minor. Courant means it's a running dance, so it's quite a fast piece. It's only about 1 minute long.
Yes. Good, as always. Awesome job, man. So we'll just like jump right in. Obviously, you're a really talented individual. Being able to do that at the drop of a dime like that, that was pretty incredible. Keep in mind, he did not plan for this. He just threw that out of nowhere. So we already have some student questions that got emailed to me, and those of you who are in the event today, if you have any questions, you can message them in the chat for Davis. But is it okay if we just start jumping into the student questions? Okay.
Absolutely.
So some of the kids already emailed me and they wanted to know how late did you start or how early did you start playing the cello?
I started when I was 4, almost 5. I'd say for a lot of my colleagues here at NEC, that's fairly typical, but there are certainly a lot of people who started much later, and are still incredibly accomplished musicians. So I mean, I can use this as a chance to kind of pedestal and say I don't think it's ever too late to start an instrument. It's always always a worthwhile activity, and certainly starting later has its benefits too. If you start an instrument and you're already a little bit you have some maturity and some self motivation that can really take you pretty far very fast.
Would you say that I'll add a follow-up question. Would you say that some musicians have you found in your field, and by the way, NEC means New England Conservatory, right? So
Yes.
it's a school of music that's beyond high school, so it's at the next level. Would you say in your experience, there have been a lot of musicians, great musicians who could play more than one instrument?
Um, yes, I think generally the very best musicians, especially those who have good careers, are ones who are able to do a lot of things, and that means being able to play usually at least two instruments to some degree. I think most people here at the school only really focus on one instrument, but many of them are able to play piano on the side. I do a very small amount of that, or sing when it's required, or be able to work with electronic instruments as well. Um, being a musician, it's always appreciated when you can adapt to your situation, and those are the kind of being able to play several instruments in some capacity. That makes you very hireable.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on something one of the students just messaged. They want to know, do you find that your work ethic with music translates into other subjects in school?
Um, yeah, I mean, I'd say I was always pretty hardworking in just about all subjects. Like in high school, before before I really decided I was going to do a music career, I would always put my full effort into all the academics subjects, and science and math and history and all that, and still here at NEC we have to do some general distribution requirements I'm taking, for example, a history course on Europe in the 20th century, and I think it's it's valuable as a musician to uh, to be able to have kind of a background in many different subjects, even if it's only surface level. But having the more sources you can draw on as a musician, the the more fulfilling your music will be because it has a, I guess, you're more able to connect it to the world as a whole.
Can you talk to the kids a little bit about some of your accomplishments in music, some of the ones that you're most proud of?
Sure. I think for me, just being able to be here actually at this school is a big accomplishment for me. Certainly, the audition process for music schools can be very intimidating, expensive, and you put a lot of work into it. So this is one I'd say. Another is currently I'm playing on a cello that's not actually mine, but it's the school's. I won it recently, or I won the use of it for 1 year recently in a instrument loan competition because it is a much better cello than the one I own. So NEC has generously offered to let me play on it for about a year. Um, and there are a bunch of competitions and prizes that I've won. But I think probably what I'm most proud of is not any of those competitions, but being able to uh, produce something that I'm proud of, and that often is a musical product. Like I think I do have a YouTube channel where I post a lot of music videos of all sorts of genres, and I find that I put a lot of work into each one, and they're not going viral, but I think that being able to be happy with something that feel like that you're contributing to the musical community in some way, um, that's that's what I'm most proud of in terms of my own accomplishments.
Well, I gotta say, I'm one of your fans because I follow that YouTube channel, and we'll link that in the video here for the recording for those of you who are on this or those of you who are watching the recording after the fact. So thank you for your work with that, and please know that it isn't falling on deaf ears. We're paying attention to it. So one of the kids wants to know how much work goes into performing at the professional level.
Well, I think if a lot of the work is going to be front loaded before you're a professional, right? So I started playing cello when I was 4. I've been playing for about, I guess, 15 years or so now, and I still have a few more years of school ahead of me. And once you're at the professional level, once you're done with school, the idea is usually, especially as an instrumentalist, that you have a good enough background that you don't really have to uh, spend a lot of time, putting in more hours to keep on perfecting what you're doing as an instrumentalist. Like the amount of practicing that professional musicians do is not really that much because they don't need to practice that much. They've already done all of that. So it really depends on what kind of career you're looking at. But basically, as a professional, you're going to be looking at just uh, just gigs really. So performances are going to be where money is made, and I mean that can be a lot of work for some people. For example, people who do studio recordings for uh, movie scores or video game soundtracks will be constantly hunting for these gigs and constantly traveling around cities to record. If you're a orchestral musician, you're looking probably at about 20 hours of work per week, and those are all in rehearsals and performances. Um, I mean, you'll never stop working, and especially because you're a musician, musicians don't often get paid that much. So you want to be, as a musician who's a professional, you probably will be working pretty long hours most days. But I think hopefully, I mean, if you're looking at that as a career, you're doing it because you find it personally rewarding, not because of the money.
We have a question from Pietro, and I'll unmute Pietro, and you should be able to ask They had some pretty good questions. All right, we might have some technical. There he is. Go ahead and ask.
Yeah, what's your favorite composer? And this is
Um, I I have to say it changes day by day, month by month. Right now, I am going through a big Beethoven phase, um, because I'm playing a lot of Beethoven right now, and so I've been listening not just to the music that I've been playing, but um, like for example, last night I was really kind of nerding out over his first piano sonata in F minor. I don't know. There's a there's a lot to unpack there, even though the music is well over 200 years old. I've also I'm really big into new music as well. So I think a a composer from our time, like currently still composing music, who I find his work to be really amazing, is Mason Bates. He's from California, and he's exploring a lot with how electronic music is integrated with the classical music world, which are typically considered two completely separate genres of music. But I think the intersection of them is a very exciting and new way forward.
Yeah, and you guys should definitely check out his channel. I put it in the chat. One thing that's interesting is when Davis puts stuff out, it's not always like traditionally classical music. You'll see John Mayer on there and BTK and like all this stuff you would never expect, and then he takes like his spin on it, and like I don't know, I find that really cool how you do that. We won't take. We'll go with a couple more questions, then we'll let you go. One of the kids wants to know, what advice do you have for them if they are just starting out in a musical instrument?
Hmm. I'd say, uh, well, that's a tough question. There's a lot to. I mean, I'm a teacher myself, so I have to be constantly giving advice as well to people who are just starting out. I'd say, definitely practicing is important, but more important than that is being able to practice smart in a smart way. So really thinking about practicing as a time to problem solve and figuring out the best ways to solve those problems. And I mean, if you're starting on a musical instrument, your teacher will certainly help you with that. I'd also recommend this kind of speaks to what I was saying earlier about being a well-rounded musician, to really be curious and allow your curiosity in music to expand beyond your instrument, because music is about so much more than just being able to hit the notes on a cello, or have good bow technique, or be able to practice a certain piece well. It's about being able to adapt to certain different situations, and really be yourself as an artist rather than just someone who's executing something on the instrument. So I would encourage uh, anybody who's starting out on an instrument to listen to a lot of music, all genres. Go to a lot of concerts if you can. If you have the resources to be able to try other instruments, even in just a very casual setting, I'd encourage that as well. Basically, just be curious and allow music to be more than just an instrumental thing.
Great advice. We have one more student question from Julie. I don't know if she's able to unmute, but oh, there you are. You should be able to ask your question. Oh, hold on, one more try. Okay, well, they want to know, what does music mean to you?
Gosh, that's a loaded question, and that's also the kind of question that you get asked at auditions, because people want to know, how am I different than just someone who can play the notes on the cello? I think for me, music it has many aspects to it. I think traditionally people will say music is important because it evokes emotion, and I agree with that. But I think that's just one aspect of what makes music meaningful to me. Another is that it's just it can be a kind of fun to explore. Like even though today in 2021 we can play basically any sound we want on a computer, the we have yet to explore. There's an infinite amount of sounds you can put together, and there's still so much room left to explore how we can develop music further. And I think being a musician in the current day, you have a great responsibility to keep on pushing that envelope and see what music really could be. I think also um, music is it could be a very powerful tool to um, to express things that are not necessarily emotional but have, you know, significance to the world around you. There's certainly a large movement today about around environmentalism in music. I don't even know how widely known that is, but there are a lot of composers today in 2021 who are, for example, sampling sounds of, you know, they're going outside and recording birds, or recording maybe more ominously the sounds of factories, and, you know, creating some kind of, you know, non-traditional music that has maybe some kind of environmental message to it. And I think, you know, music has a big potential to go beyond beyond feelings and to have a larger significance in the world. So I think music has a lot of different meanings to different people, and for every person it's going to be very different, but I think everybody can find their own meaning in what music is to them.
Well said. All right, before we let you go, is there any advice that you could give to these kids as they go out in the world and kind of figure out who they are? Maybe if you say a few words about persevering through adversity, because this, you know, couldn't have been easy learning this instrument and getting to the level that you're at.
Yeah, I think that's probably my biggest piece of advice for anyone, musician or not, is to just um, keep pushing through, because there are going to be certainly difficult periods of time that could last, you know, days, weeks, months, years for sure. I know I'm constantly consoling my friends here at NEC, saying, you know, okay, I know that this technical issue of you is not working out for you now, but if you keep on, you know, thinking about it in new ways, just keep on working. It'll eventually work itself out, or you'll find a solution. So, you know, music is not an easy career to pursue, and, you know, in terms of the amount of work, or the um, you know, your realization as a how do you make money. But I think, you know, if you always have some kind of if you always can remember why you're doing it, then that would be good enough motivation for you to you know, eventually get over whatever is troubling you at the moment, and have a fulfilling and long career.
Great advice. And before we let you go, this might be a big ask, and you can say no, and that's okay. But I wanted to see if you could play a little something, and then we could give you an applause, and then I could end the meeting for all. Would that be okay?
Sure, I'll play maybe another movement from the same Bach suite. This would be
Yes.
the Sarabande. Sarabande is slow dance in 3. Kind of a more somber dance, but I hope you enjoy it nonetheless.